then why don't you stay back in your country and help make that better? Why do you want to come to America in the first place? We don't need you, we're fine. I'm Naman Pandey, and in this episode, featured not expert is Atal Agarwal.
A lot of the people who support the party are white supremacists.
Atal is the founder of OpenSphere.ai, which is a community based AI platform that leverages immigration lawyers to help speed up your visa need.
The more I started realizing that, dude, like these people are not even Americans, a lot of them.
Perhaps more importantly, though, Atal is a big advocate for Indian immigrants in the US and their rights. Off the back of Trump's latest executive order, a lot has been said about birthright citizenship and what it all entails.
So I started building out this product, started using AI. Now we help people file their visas for O1, EB1A, EB2NIW, EB5.
That accent will put off an Indian in India.
I got reached out by Times Now. They do a show.
It is not racist when abuses in the system are pointed out.
So many people supported Trump, especially like the Indian community. Everyone is like, yeah, we are party of, we believe in merit, we believe in hard work.
Welcome to the Ready Set Do podcast, where we learn from journeys of not experts who are just 2 steps ahead of us. In keeping with our theme of learning from somebody that's just 2 steps ahead of us instead of an expert, my goal with this episode is to spotlight Atal and his dedicated work towards raising awareness for what he thinks is right. This is the Ready Set Do podcast, and to support it, please subscribe to me on YouTube and leave me up to a 5-star rating on Spotify or your favorite podcast app. There are links in the description for more direct ways to support me. And now, without any further ado, my friends, here's Atal. Atal, welcome. I was just off of your live on X just now, and yeah, do you want a breather? Because I know that was a lot, and you've been doing a lot of those recently. So how has that been? Can you kick us off here?
It's kind of funny, like, I think I like experimenting with different things. So today has been crazy experiment.
Interesting.
I got a call. I mean, I've been tweeting a lot about like, just the rights of legal immigrants.
Hmm?
So I got reached out by Times Now. They do a show, Prime Time. I think Prime Time Beyond the Headlines. So they
Okay.
invited me to be one of the panelists there. So there was a very intense discussion, kind of like
Wow.
geopolitical discussion where you see people from Republican side, like Americans who are there, and they invited me as like the voice of Indian immigrants.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so that was very interesting. And then I had hosted this session with a lawyer to just like know about the legal immigrants and their rights. And then I was testing out Riverside. So it was a fun day. So thank you for having me.
I love Riverside. It's really great. And I know for, because you've just done that, and I'm not sure if it's aired yet, the Times Now session. Can you maybe give us your, like your highlight reel of some of the, really crucial or interesting things that you were able to talk about on that, if you can, if you're allowed to?
Yeah, of course. I mean, so it went live. It was live session.
Okay,
So
I
so
see, I
already
see. Got it.
I think one thing which definitely stood out to me that there was a person who was Republican in there. And when someone asked him the question about like, hey, what do you think about this kind of his executive order about birthright citizenship and
Mhm.
the impact, especially on people who are long-term visa holders. So I think just to give some background, the
Absolutely, yeah.
the executive order here is that people who are on work visa, if they have their kids in US, what's going to happen is their kids would not have the US citizenship.
Mhm. Right.
So if you think about what's going to happen, the real-time practical impact of this is like people on H1B who have been in the 100 plus years of backlogs, they basically cannot have families in the US. Like they cannot plan out their families.
Right.
Especially like let's say there is like husband and wife, or someone, let's say, got married before coming here. They are on H1B, their wife is an H4 dependent. So
Mhm.
basically, if they have kids now, they won't be US citizens. So basically, their future of their kids does not exist in America, and people are not understanding the gravity of their situation. Like 100 plus years of wait already, they are dealing with it. Now, even they don't have a brighter future for their next generation, their kids. So there is nothing to look forward to about like, okay, is the future going to be bright in America?
Right.
This is just
Is it
only
even
one set
worth
of,
settling, Yeah,
oh, yeah.
everything's
I
up,
mean,
everything is up in the air right now. Yeah.
100%. And I mean, if you think about other people like PhDs and all, they are on F1 visa, J1 visas, and all these PhDs, if they decide to have like, doing their PhD, during their PhD, they want to get married, they might be of the age of like between 25 to 35. And
Mhm.
let's say they want to get married, and at some point it might happen that they want to get married and they want to have kids, and the kids would not have any legal rights in this country. So
Right.
so in a way, what they're saying is like when the kid is born, they're a citizen of the country where they came from. which means you have to figure out their visa along with doing all the things about their
Right.
health, figuring out this.
Right. Right.
So this doesn't make any sense. So I think what stood out to me in that conversation, going back to it, the Times
Hmm.
conversation,
Hmm.
the Republican person was saying, "Oh no, 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 this is not going to be passed by the by the Supreme Court."
Right.
So he was saying it himself, which really questions me the integrity of the party and the people who are going there. Is like,
Hmm.
guys, like you are talking something else, your people are talking something else, you are getting sued left and right by every state, and here you are like, talking about the party of merit and standing up for the right legal people. I
Hmm.
mean, it doesn't even make sense to. I mean, if they really wanted to go with good intentions, and let's say they were saying, "Oh, this birth tourism happens," guys, just like do if you want to do it, you can do it for tourist visa, right? You can say if you're
Hmm.
on a B1 B2 visa, you want to control birth tourism, apply that. But the language clearly says birth, work, all these different visas. So
Hmm.
it's not
Yeah.
just the intention. The intention is wrong here, is what I'm saying, and I
Yeah.
think that's where I'm concerned about because so many people supported Trump, especially like the Indian community.
True.
Everyone is
True.
like, yeah, we are party of, we believe in merit, we believe in hard work, and we want America to be more of a land of opportunity and for merit. And here we are seeing on the other side, the parties sneaking in things like this, which are actually anti-merit. So on the face value of it is like, oh wow, we are talking about merit, this and that. And on the under the radar, they are like really acting very corrupt in this situation.
So, and I think another thing to highlight here is just the
Mhm,
seeming difference between, the rules that apply to really any country, say in Europe,
mhm,
versus those in Asia. Because if
mhm.
you were to look at just the green card backlog, why is it that just for India and like other Asian countries that time is so much more longer than if you were just coming from say a European country? So that also has is something that has feel a little suspicious to me as well personally, but yeah, this looks like it would affect them as well, right? It's everybody across the board. Even if you're European, you would not be able to have birthright citizenship. Is that right?
I
Is
mean,
my understanding correct?
of course. I mean, see, we have to go down the history of America. There is no doubt that the American forefathers happen to be coming from Europe,
Hmm.
right? But we have to understand what the model of the country they wanted to build.
Right.
What is the identity they wanted to give to this country? The identity was not of another European nation. That was
Hmm.
not the point. They didn't want another European country. The whole idea of this country is on merit, and the country
Right.
has also gone through a civil war. And after the civil war, there is a law of the land, which is like anyone born on the U.S. soil, irrespective of what the color of skin or who they are, they actually have legal rights to this
Right.
land, like as a citizen.
Yeah, and that's why I
And
think they were saying it will probably be struck down by the Supreme Court because it is so deeply, integrated in the Constitution of America. The fact that
yeah,
if you're born here, you will probably be a citizen.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. And but I mean, if after that, if you think about like the Immigration Act and the immigration laws and how they have been designed,
mhm,
I mean, let's say even then the intentions were like, okay, they were not all pro merit because if you think
right,
about merit, that employment based visas, which are merit based, should not have a country cap. You can have a
right.
diversity visa, and you can say, okay, I want to have diversity, and I can put a country cap to ensure diversity. Okay,
Mhm.
but when you so you can have diversity. I'm pro diversity, and I say diversity visa makes sense. Okay,
Right.
but when you're creating employment based visa, you are basically creating a visa where an employer needs a worker and they bring them on, right? So
Right.
the diversity is not a component of it. So you do not put a country cap on diversity based visas. And that's where I feel like it was very wrong to, as a design, that you have country caps on employment based visa. But that's fine. Like that's history, that is past. But when you move ahead, you are going to go towards a merit based system and you want more to be merit.
Interesting.
Here you have here that's where these long backlogs are there, and that's why we are like so much pro removal of country cap in employment based visas, because
Mhm.
that is the right thing to do. You got to remove all these situations where someone who's like very well qualified, very hardworking, came on merit, is stuck in the green card backlog. But now all these people are stuck in this backlog. There are 100+ years of backlog. Now, when you create like this situation where an executive order say that their kids would not be even having a citizenship, you are basically saying impacting only these countries like China and India, who are actually more, who have a lot more people coming in because of just the
Hmm.
size of the population. Like it's like, Naman, I do not know where you are from India. I meet so many people who are from South India. We
Hmm.
do share the same country name, but understanding each other, we have different languages. We are like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
we just like how we are united as a humanity together as
It's
India and
called
America.
the
Yeah.
subcontinent for a reason, right? We are essentially a continent with many countries that are just states. In our case, we just call them states instead of countries. But really, we are a
Yeah.
subcontinent. That's always a term that I never understood growing up, but now I understand why the
Yeah.
Indian peninsula is referred to as a subcontinent. So here, I'm going to, try and steel man the argument from the other side, right? So
Mhm.
like, I'll just pretend to be somebody that's, not necessarily in favor of this new resolution, but just trying to, distill your ideas a little bit more. So I think the biggest reason that the people cite, at least American people that believe in this type of stuff, is that they say that the H1B quotas are misused. Like, American companies just use that as a way to pay much lower wages to people from other countries that are willing to do the work in the same amount of time or more, actually, than Americans would. And it kind of leads to just a lot of other ways, other ways of corruption. You're able to employ five people instead of one, that you would have to employ an American. You can now have five people, two from India, two from Philippines, wherever, whatever the case might be. So, what is your take around this? Would you say this is completely unjustified, or would you say that maybe there is some truth to this argument as well?
So, I mean, 100% there is a truth to this argument that there are challenges in the current H1B system. Like there
Hmm.
are people who might be exploiting the system. Now,
Right.
are you saying you are saying the system is gonna be foolproof, the new system you're gonna come out with? No.
That's true.
Systems, just like human beings, systems cannot be fail proof. Like just like you give guns to 100 people, you say two people are like actually going to misuse it while 98 people going to use it for their own protection. Just
Mhm.
like you go on a street and you will say like, okay, 100 people, you will say all good people, and there would be like one person who would be like, oh, I'm just a, this is not
Yeah.
how,
Just
this
here
like,
to screw everything up for everybody. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Human. This is how human beings are. We are like the moral corruption in a human being is very much true. But that's not you give as an argument to like kill a very good system
Hmm.
which works. So this is a this there is some truth to what might be happening, but at the same time, this is no reason to say like, oh, I'm gonna shut down H1B or I'm
Mm.
not. And people are like, okay, well, if you want to shut down H1B, that's fine. You first create a better system, but
Mm.
then do not come back and say, oh, your better system is not working because it's
Yeah,
highly possible. There are flaws in that.
right, right. Absolutely. Or it's just
So
the old system with a new veneer. Nothing's actually changed. They just call it something else now. I feel like
exactly,
that
and they
also
just
happens a bunch. Yeah.
a lot of time that happens. You just create a new system and say like, oh, we created a new system,
Yeah.
and then you say, oh, the same problems exist. So
Mhm.
there is a validity to the argument. There is like a lot of perspective about like, hey, please improve it. If you want to increase the minimum salary gap, please improve it. But the biggest of all, which people are not ready to like, even discuss and avoiding it, is like what you're gonna do even in this situation. How are you gonna give green cards to these people? So figure out how to give them green card first. Figure out how to create a
Mhm.
pathway for them. If you want, no one is against like, oh, you want to cut down immigration or you want to like improve only few people to come in, but do it on a merit based system. Do not create a
Mhm.
mess out of the system where you are like bringing in employees and not offering them to have the same rights as the residents of
Yeah.
this country.
Absolutely. And from the outside looking in, it
Mhm.
almost feels like this has been a very divisive topic for within the Republican Party as well. Because
Mhm.
on one
Mhm.
side, you have, all the MAGA Republicans that are just like, okay, just do away with
Mhm.
it altogether. But on the other side, there are obviously Elon Musk, probably is the biggest example of somebody that, at least in the past, had stood up and was like, no, we need this. You guys just don't understand. We would not work. There would be no Silicon Valley without, the H1B, and it just feels like such a big division, and you don't normally see something like this. So are you able to offer any, maybe it's any takes that you would have thought upon or that you would have come to when it comes to the background of this, why this is like that and why this is such a divisive issue within the Republican Party itself?
Um, I think the reason there is like a lot of division within the party is because a lot of the people who support the party, a big mass of it is actually very much white supremacist.
Okay.
And these people just do not understand the idea of America. They just didn't even grow up with the mindset of merit.
Hmm.
They just like think about like world as a zero sum game, and they do not understand how to play win-win arguments, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And Silicon Valley has very much been about win-win arguments because tech has been
Absolutely.
winning. And a big part of it is because tech has been winning over the last 30 years.
Hmm.
So when people have seen like, oh wow, like, it doesn't matter which country you are from or what race you are from, and we can all work together and create a win-win game for each of us. People are like, holy shit, this is gold, right? So
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
why that's why that has been in the minds of a lot of people in Silicon Valley, but a lot of people in the Trump party just do not look at the world from that lens. Now, Elon Musk knows the game of the world is very much about talent density. You bring
Hmm.
the brightest people together and you allow them to think and create knowledge, and then you make money out of it. This is how
Interesting.
just the world works. You bring in the smartest people in a place and you allow them to flourish with each other, and they learn from each other and they create great value, and you sell the value in the world.
Hmm.
That's how America has been sustaining. So Elon Musk knows that his company hires the best people, and the moment they would not be able to get the best people in the country, then those people gonna because those people are gonna do something out there in other countries. Like
Right.
human
Or
beings,
their own
like
country. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, their
Wherever
own
the
country.
case might be. Yeah.
And nowadays with this internet age, like you don't need to be in a country like America to be able to create that value. Like, you can build deeper connections one on one with American people.
Yeah.
You can literally create that heart to heart connection irrespective of whether you are in America or not. And even so many Americans crave that Indian side where they want to
True.
go towards spirituality and come to India. So I mean, breaking the world into India and America doesn't make any sense because we are all together in this consciousness. And I mean,
Hmm.
this is definitely from Indian ancestry. We just like look at the world as one big planet together.
Yeah.
um and now it's very hard to convince a portion of these people who are kind of like all in their mind, in their head, and not able to think clearly. And I mean, in a way, a lot of the good Republicans, or like a lot of the progressive Republicans, are trying to take these people and drag them with them, that hey guys,
Hmm.
like look at the better picture. These people are
Right.
going to come to the country, they're going to create jobs for you all and your future kids and everyone, and it's going to be great. But not
Right.
a lot of them are not even understanding it, so it's very hard to fight that.
That's very true. And, if you add to that the fact that, there's so much contribution to the economy, almost basically no crime whatsoever when it comes to the, Indian American cohort, like pretty much it feels like it's a net good, at least in my very uninformed opinion. But I
Mhm.
think then going back to my topic of or theme of kind of steel manning the other side's arguments, I think the next one that I hear just commonly that honestly sometimes feels like a gotcha moment to me, but one that works a little bit is that if you're all so great, then why don't you stay back in your country and help make that better? Why do you want to come to America in the first place? We don't need you. We're fine. If you're so great and if you're so talented, stay back where you are and build your own home better than it is today. I personally kind of struggle with that a little bit just because I don't know the immediate, not retort, but just how to reconcile that in my head. So, can you offer anything on around those lines for people who say that or think that?
Well, I think a lot of people who give this argument basically do not have an understanding about how India has progressed over the last 10-20 years. They
That's
think
true.
India,
Yeah.
and I mean they don't understand, like, after India got freedom, we have been on the roll. Like our country, I think in a short term, humanity and, like, people in India would look at like, oh, I mean all these problems exist in India and all. But dude, when you look at the time we got independence to now, you see the confidence in Indians
Hmm.
where they are standing up for themselves. It has gone insanely high. And if
Right.
the world is a game of confidence and, developing your own narratives, India is developing its own narrative. India is
Absolutely.
appearing in the world map as a sovereign country, standing up for itself.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of people who say, like, okay, well, why don't you stay back in India, do not understand how much development has happened in India. And they think people are trying to skip out of India, which is
Or
not true.
escape out. Yeah. Which maybe
Yes.
it was true 30 years ago, more so than now, but you're right. 100%. It's
Yeah.
not as
And,
true anymore. Yeah.
and people like me, we just never thought about like, hey, America is any better. We were like, okay, we are seeking knowledge. I want to learn more. I want to like explore the
Mhm.
world. It's natural for me to as a human being to learn from other human beings from around the world, right?
Absolutely.
So the argument is not about like someone trying to escape, but seeking more knowledge. Now, will that chase for knowledge is going to die down because of any one person or like few people thinking you should not do that? No, we are still seeking knowledge on the internet. It doesn't matter where we
Yeah,
are, and we are still seeking the same with the same
correct.
curiosity. So I don't think that is changing anywhere. Now, my other argument to those people who think like, why don't you go back to India? I mean, I think we should look at the world holistically, because that's just how world works. Like you cannot make the world work with just America. If that was possible, America would not be debt of China. Like you see how consumer mindset is, like every
Yeah,
consumer in America chose to take a product at a cheaper price than it
true.
was coming from China. And the same
Given
thing
the
happened
chance. Yeah,
given the chance.
absolutely.
And the same thing happened in India too. If you think about it, like consumer is like, you remember those Diwali lights? Like people would
Hmm.
be like, the Diwali lights are made in India were expensive, but people
Yeah,
chose those lights that were made in China because they were like, well, these lights are
they're
cheaper and
just
I can sell
cheaper.
them.
Yeah. At the
Yeah,
end, money is king. Cash is king, as they say. You
cash
didn't.
is king.
Only up to an extent can you be nationalist when there's a matter of food on the table. All of most people's nationalism understandably goes out the door,
Yeah.
like you can't
Na-
be. Yeah, sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, food on the table is one part of it. Even for the luxury that we seek, given how money works, you always seek like, okay, can I have the most wants meet
Hmm,
for the my most of the desires met with the least amount of money? Like that's why I think
absolutely.
so people giving this argument and like not understanding that Americans are buying Chinese goods and there is a big loss happening because of that.
Hmm,
So better like think about those things at deeper level, and worrying about like, okay, what's going to happen with like these people coming into the country. Guys, bring the talent is going to create jobs for Americans, for everyone else.
true.
Allow the people who are talent, there are very few people who are ambitious. Allow those ambitious people to continue to give their gifts with the world and continue to lead. You do should No one should be a blocker for people who want to live their dreams, doing good
Mhm.
work, doing hard work. America has the responsibility for it as well.
Absolutely. And, America wouldn't get where it is without people like that. So, kind of shifting gears just a little bit, um, something that I've noticed about you that is that you've been really, really active and really taking the charge on Twitter and such. And personally, my question, I guess, something that I wonder about generally is, you know what drives you to do that, or if I'll put it this way, what is the change that you're seeking to inculcate by posting so much, sharing so much awareness and your expertise on the subject, given you've been for such a long time the flagship of so many Indian Americans in the US through not only your works and your companies, but really the communities that you've built. So, is it just to share the change, or is it just to inform people, or are you seeking to bring about a bigger change here?
I think there is a bigger change that need to be brought about this. I think one part of my mission is to help people understand how great India is now, and kind of like I think I look at world as like strength respect strength, and
Hmm.
I am already seeing there is a lot of change in India, and people need to understand that change and need to respect India for what it's bringing to the world.
Yeah,
And so that is like one part of my work which I really wanna deliver more. The
that's
other thing
awesome.
is I mean, I think in my life, I mean, if I when I look at like how much of American and how much Indian I am, I mean, I've spent like one-fourth of my life in America, and I mean, it's very important to understand that now I represent that culture because I've
True,
lived there,
100%.
I've
Yeah.
lived with the people. So it's very important to continue guiding America in the right direction when I'm
Yeah.
seeing a lot of that wrong mindset coming in, or a lot of
Mhm.
like people not going with the right narrative about America. So it's my
Mhm.
responsibility to stand up for America and India both and show that, okay, what is a better way to live. And I mean, losing America is not an option, losing India is not an option. It is very important to stand up for what's right. And I mean, that's all my advocacy is about, like
Yeah.
telling people that, guys, like this is just like plain wrong, and we gotta fight it out and understand where it's wrong and continue to talk about it.
Absolutely. And something I want to do here is kind of just show some of just the wild responses you've been getting on some of your tweets. I think it's just remarkable, just the amount of
Mm.
stuff or the type of stuff that people come up with. And I'm looking to kind of, understand how you deal with that honestly, because it's just a lot. But before I do that, I do want
Mm.
to offer you the chance to talk about the work you've been doing with OpenSphere.ai. I think
Mm.
it's really cool, and I'm fairly well versed with it. But if you had to, kind of pitch that to my viewers, how would you go about doing that?
Definitely. So, I think just basically what happened with my life is like when I was an H1B, or I mean F1 initially, I wanted to build companies and I was having a
Okay.
hard time navigating the immigration system.
Hmm.
And slowly the problem just continued, even on H1B. And I was like, this just does not make any sense to me. Like, I want to create jobs for American people. I want to build companies. Why should I be concerned about like, my visa? So
Right.
when, I mean, that mindset was deep in me. Like, I want to create jobs. Like, I don't want to be a
Hmm.
job seeker. I want to be a
Yeah.
job creator. Like, it was always in my mind. And I was like
Yeah.
always feeling like shut down. So when I started realizing this problem bothers me a lot, I started building out like how I'm going to solve this problem, like, and
Interesting.
instead of just talking about it. So I started building out this product, started using AI. Now we help people file their visas for O1, EB1A,
Wow.
EB2NIW, EB5. We have
That's
partnered with,
incredible. Wow.
yeah, we have partnered with immigration lawyers, and we help people get visas. And we are like an advocacy driven movement about supporting legal immigrants in their
Hmm.
journeys, and we have a lot of partners to offer to get make that happen.
Hmm.
I mean, down the road, my platform is turning into global mobility platform where it's not just
Interesting.
about the US. We will help
I see.
people go to the countries where they are respected and treated the best, and
Hmm.
also advocate for them and their rights in those countries. So that's kind of pretty
Wow.
much what we are building.
That's so cool, man. I was recently talking to a friend about
Mm.
this friend is also he's also Indian that lives in America, and he was like, I just feel like at every step of the way, America wants to kick me out. But from what I've heard, there are other countries such as Dubai, etc., that are much more welcoming. So he was like, I wish I could look that up. I wish I could find out what the process is like for that.
Mm.
But there
Mm.
is no easy source to do that. Of course, you could
Mm.
Google, but it's just not the same as talking to somebody that has been there, done that. So it
Mm.
sounds like what OpenSphere could be helpful for as well is for people like him to just go on there, maybe talk to a few people, understand what the process is like, and then make their own informed decisions. Is that
Yeah,
something
yeah.
that's on the works, kind of, or is that already something that you're doing?
Definitely. So we have a community, very big community
Okay,
now,
awesome.
1,500 people. We have,
Wow.
it says a WhatsApp community. I mean, see, I think I'm very much about like, how can I help these people get out? And it's not just about getting the visas, but actually showing them a path to
Hmm.
have their own financial freedom.
Amazing.
And that happens through entrepreneurship and kind of like building your own things. So I help people. We have like more of like kind of like small accelerators where
Okay,
people can work together
got
and
it.
build their own companies. Yeah.
Wow, that's I mean, I'll for sure be checking
Yeah.
it out. I'm very intrigued by what you do here. So I know
Thank you.
we don't have a lot of time here left, so I saved the best for last. I'm going
Yeah.
to kind of share some of the replies to your tweets. And again, really, I'm just looking for when you read that. So when I read that, I know immediately the kind of response that my whole peripheral nervous system triggers. I'm just trying to understand how you react to this. And I know you usually don't engage, which I think is smart, but yeah, just so we'll just put it up here and we
Just to give some background. Okay. So I
yeah, yeah.
think when I was doing this initially, I was definitely concerned about it, as like
Hmm.
anyone else. But the more I started doing it, the more I started realizing that, dude, like these people are not even Americans, a lot of them. So what they're really doing is just like, just making fun of it.
It's just gross. It's just so bad. Like like look at this. My messages go back. It is the end game. America has woken up. Uh, I mean,
I
it's
don't know.
just
I don't
the
know what I mean.
entitlement. Yeah. I mean,
By the way,
actually,
entitlement, I have a lot to say. I
I was
don't
just
think
going to say, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Can you?
entitlement is a very interesting question. So people say it's an entitlement to be waiting in the green card backlog your entire life. Uh, and being in America is a you are entitled. You're feeling entitled for being in America.
Hmm,
People do not really understand that, dude. Living in America is not an entitlement. It's the freedom that is the entitlement that people
right.
crave for, and that's why they come to America. If there is no freedom, then there is literally nothing.
Yeah. And I mean, so that one at least was intellectual, right? There is at
Uh,
least some reasoning going on there. Like, look at this one. which educated Indians started working on their grooming as well. Not
uh,
sure how this person got there. That
uh,
accent will put off an Indian in India. And
uh,
this actually feels like this is an Indian person. So that's honestly even more, I
uh,
don't know, just concerning. Or maybe not. Maybe they aren't. I mean,
yeah.
there's some cricket stuff. So they are Indian. Okay. So, I mean,
No,
what do you say to people like that? Like, bro, you're, why you self scoring own goals here? Like, what,
no.
what is,
I think to these people, see, I mean, I think I have learned that being a learner and a shameless learner, you can go really far in life.
yeah.
I'm gonna add this as a quote. Being a shameless learner, you can go very far in life. And
Mm-hmm.
all I am is I'm a very shameless learner. I do not look at these things as like criticism in me for me. I
Mm-hmm.
look at these as like, oh wow, if let's say someone is saying about grooming, I know I have a lot of work to do. If
Mm-hmm.
let's say I want to one day I want to be like, in a very big position that I got to do a lot of work on myself, and it is my
Yeah.
duty to continue working and doing it. At the same time, in my today, I have to continue fighting for what I believe in as well.
Absolutely. And then that's also dovetails so well with tweets like that one. So this is some American gentleman who's, he's just so nice and making sense. No, and I'm not just saying that because he's agreeing with your side here, but I'm just commenting on how this makes sense to me much more as a reply than the others where he's saying stuff like it is, at least he's trying to make a cogent argument. He's like, for those Indians who are contributing, I believe they will be welcomed by the neighbors and the community. But he's also like, Donald Trump and his staff have come to highlight whatever, blah blah, and then it is not racist when abuses in the system are pointed out. You can work with people like this. At least they're trying to come up with cogent arguments. But yeah, obviously the same can't be said about on other people. So just kind of wanted to bring this up and kind of pick your brain about how you like deal with this. Sounds like you just don't usually take this stuff too hard too much, and what you said about being a shameless learner definitely rings true more so here than anywhere else where you just like have a thick skin, don't let that stuff stick. They probably are just lashing out due to anger towards themselves or whatever. It's not your job to be their counselor or whatever. You can just carry on with your own life. So
I
as
think
we
one
close off,
way,
sorry, yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
I want to add like, one way to look at it is like, if you look at all the top people in the world, the top corporates, like, be it Elon Musk or Satya Nadella or anyone, right? If you think about it, like how many people who criticize them would be there in the world? Like they put out a tweet, there will be
That's
thousands of
true.
people that are
A hundred
criticizing them,
percent
right?
Absolutely.
Does it
Yeah.
does it impact Elon not to be able to stand up for what he believes in? He does. Like
Mhm.
when he stood up for H1B people, he literally was in the most
Yeah.
vulnerable position I saw him
Correct.
in the last 1 year. So still
Absolutely, I
he stood up
agree.
for
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah. That
So
period
I
between
think
Christmas and New Year, right, where it
yeah,
was the whole H1B wars on Twitter. Yeah,
yeah,
I remember
yeah.
that very
So
very
so if
distinctly.
he
Yeah,
yeah, if he stands up for these people when he believes in it and he can fight everyone else, it basically shows that leaders are very much about who stand up for the right things. And I believe that
yeah.
is the most important part. So I mean, I think these things are very small. And
Absolutely,
we should think about how we are impacting the civilization, how we are leaving the world a better place to live.
absolutely. And with that, do you have any final words for any Indian immigrants in the US, be it on H1B or shorter term visas, or maybe students that are currently planning on coming to the US?
Uh,
Anything that you want to share with them as of
I
this
think
moment?
I think first of all, we should be very grateful for being born in India. Okay. And the reason I'm saying this is like India is such a great country. You look at how what is happening in the entire world to get a perspective that when people think about like, hey, coming to America from India, dude, India is a great country. You can always come back. You can always come back home.
Yeah,
A lot of
true.
people in other countries do not have that pathway. They just cannot go back. There is a war happening in their home country, or there is some issue happening and they cannot go back, right? We are so
Right.
grateful that our country is doing so well, and we got to continue giving back to India and continue lifting our communities in India. So
Yeah.
that's kind of my big message. Like, do not take this like, these are all like, you will find talent, you will find intellectual talent, you will find great people where you want to build.
Yeah.
Just focus on your own dreams and your own freedom. Do not let, because time is very short, you cannot let your youth be passing without you being fulfilled on what you are doing. So
Mhm.
focus on what will fulfill you the most and just like take those leaps, it will work out.
Amazing. That is such a great message for anybody listening. Atal, I want to thank you here for taking the time. I know you have a really busy schedule, and I know
Yes.
you have so much more to do, and just really continuously, irrespective of any executive orders or not, you've been such a lighthouse for this entire community for so many years now. And it has truly been my pleasure to finally connect with you and have a conversation. Shout out to our common friend Vijayan for setting this up. And yeah, with that, I would love to, take your leave, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me on.
That brings us to the end of that conversation with Atal. Hopefully, that last part wasn't too jarring for you. If you would like to support me, the easiest way to do that is by subscribing to me on YouTube and leaving me up to a 5-star rating on Spotify or your favorite podcast apps. Catch you all in the next one. New episodes whenever I want.